For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. April 24, 2019, Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind Eyewitness recounts. They lifted me up along with the bed. UFO takes off from a factory in Buhovo. Humanoid bursts a tire on a bus. It was quite difficult to convince Georgi Todorov to talk about his encounter with aliens in 1992. He really doesn't like to discuss it. Fortunately for us, however, he had shared the experience with me over a cup of aromatic Guatemalan coffee. Thanks to his recommendation and protection, we ended up at his home. We were greeted at the door by the living Hemingway, a mature man with a graying beard and a gaze that captivates, strong, deep, and wise, yet at the same time childlike, curious, and joyful. Georgi worked for many years as a driver, first a taxi driver, then for the city transport on an Karus bus, later for the Russian church, even chauffeuring important figures. Now retired, he guards a church in the capital. He has strong faith in God and believes that divine mercy has saved him multiple times, once when a snake bit him in Sozopol, and another time when his taxi was hit at 120 km/h. Both he and his passenger were unharmed, and the crash saved people. At a crosswalk, the speeding car was heading toward one. In one photo, an angelic silhouette appeared behind Georgi. A guest from Russia was so amazed by the photo that he begged for it and took it to show in a church in Moscow. Georgi's deep faith, honor, and dignity have lit a spark in his eyes and sculpted a noble presence worthy of admiration. A few years ago, even Prime Minister Boyko Borisov mistakenly tried to kiss his hand, thinking he was a priest in front of the Russian church. I mention this because Georgi agreed to speak, though not to be photographed from the front, and maybe his survival of the events he'll describe is also part of God's will. As our photographer likes to say, only God knows. UFO IMBUHOWO back to 1992. It's sometime in September, a chilly day. At the time, Georgi was driving an Okarus city bus. He worked hard. His wife was expecting their third child. That day, he had a broken-up shift so he could get new tires. He started work early, the first bus on Route No. 17. Which passed through Bochenitz and Chelopachin on the way to Kremakovtsi. With him was his colleague Svetlio, who had worked the night shift and lived in Seslavsy near Buhovo. At the turnaround at Pirdop Square, Sahata Rika, an officer boarded the bus, someone who often traveled to the Buhovo military unit. Svetlio sat in the driver's cabin with Georgi, and the officer took the front seat on the right. No other passengers. As they approached the Buhovo turnoff, having passed the prison stop-offs around 5:50 a.m., suddenly in front of their eyes, about a kilometer up the hill, a huge flying saucer rose into the air. I'm not a fantasist. I don't read science fiction. I had no time in public transport, working 10-hour days. I don't drink alcohol, just 23 g socially, and never at work. We were checked every morning. No alcohol. No fantasies, no imagination, says Georgie, and continues, visibly moved, and this flying saucer just lights up, shining intensely. I saw it as if it came from somewhere, up there, over Buhovo. Georgie immediately turned to the officer. Look. The officer stood up and froze. The saucer also paused midair, then disappeared rapidly. Svetlio, what did you see? Georgie asked. Something white, round and white. At the Buhovo Saslavtsi stop, Svetlio got off. Georgie continued, still shaken. Sir, what did you see? He asked the officer. A flying saucer. That's what I saw, too. When exactly did you see it? When you shouted. It was hovering, then vanished. I saw it taking off. I saw the edges, the dome underneath, the glow. The officer got off in Buhovo. Georgie never saw him again. I really wanted to find him afterward, to ask if he experienced anything strange after seeing the UFO, if he managed to stay sane. The saucer, as Georgi described, was about 100 meters in diameter. No windows visible. It shone brightly. Humanoid on Tui Bues. Later that day, Georgi changed his bus tires and resumed driving on Route 117, which also went through Buhovo. At the final stop, a few people boarded. One was medium height, carrying a small bag. He asked to sit in the driver's cabin. I rarely let anyone in, only if they're in trouble. But he looked intelligent, well-dressed, normal, except pale, yellow-skinned, like seasick, yet alive and vibrant. I let him in, come, sit. The pale man began asking, Do you often come here? No. I usually drive in Sofia. Just covering this area today for tire replacement. This will be a major healing center one day, especially for cancer treatment. I have a clinic here. What clinic? Dental. Medical. Medical. People come and are pleased. You can't say people are pleased. They have to say it. Georgie countered. Suddenly the man said, Your middle axle tire is about to burst. What are you talking about? Before Georgie could finish. BM! The bus shook. A pregnant passenger screamed. He stopped the bus. Sure enough, a brand new tire on the middle axle had burst. I took a deep breath, stopped a car for the pregnant woman, and offloaded the others to wait for the next bus. But the pale man stayed, asking to ride to the depot. On the way, he began saying very personal things. Your wife had surgery for cancer. You have a son and daughter. You're expecting a third child. My blood boiled. Georgie recalled. I was sweating. My vision blurred. I stopped and said, Get out of the bus! The man calmly replied, Don't worry. I'm leaving. I wish you all the best. He exited politely. Georgie never saw him again, until you called. I hadn't considered that this humanoid, earthly or not, might be connected to the flying saucer. Empire Sarpasik. Georgie finished work at 10 p.m. He was scheduled for the next morning at 5:40 a.m. He didn't refuse, needed the hours. Back at home in the Tolstoy neighborhood, He had a bite and went to bed. His wife Nadia was in the other room with the kids, working on wood carvings. The noise kept him awake, so he moved to the children's room. I lay down near the window. Just as I started to doze off, something lifted me up with the bed horizontally about 40 cm above the floor. I couldn't scream or move. It started choking me from the inside. Nadia heard a strange noise and went to check. Just before opening the door, the bed hit the ground. Georgi managed to gasp, "What's happening? Are you shaking the bed?" "Leave the door open." He refused to overanalyze the event. Mostly, he thought, I have to wake at 4:30 a.m. and drive all day. But 5 minutes later, it happened again. I was lifted again, as if they were trying to throw me through the window. Feet first. I couldn't move, couldn't cry for help. Somehow the bed slammed into the wall, and I came to. Nadia confirmed hearing the noise again, but didn't see anything. Georgi refused to lie down again. He took a hot shower. Nadia made him strong coffee. Together they waited for morning. It never happened again. "Thank God," he says, firmly believing that it was God who saved him once again in that uneven battle. Paralyzed and silent, all he could do was pray. Of dice for urinium, to see the spot where Georgi encountered the UFO, we head to Buhovo, 25 km northeast of Sofia, in the Kremakovci region. Honestly, it looks more like a small suburb than a town, though it officially became a town in 1974. Its rich history goes back to prehistoric times. In the 3rd century, it became part of Byzantium. Locals built a massive basilica, now in the courtyard of the Buhovo monastery. This area has a special energy. During medieval times, 3 of the 14 monasteries of Sofia's holy mountain were located here: St. Archangel Michael in Buhovo, St. Nicholas in Seslavci, and St. Mary Magdalene in Buhovo. The unique energy may be due to uranium in the mountains nearby. In 1938, the Germans helped develop the mine. After WWI, the USSR took control. The joint Soviet-Bulgarian mining company ran until 1956, then transformed into rare metals. Uranium activity was classified and continued until 1989. On August 20, 1992, a government decree shut down operations. In September, Georgi and the others saw the UFO. We now stand at the Buhovo turnoff, where Bus 17 once passed. We pull over, take photos, and Georgi offers to show us where the UFO took off from. Can you guess? The closed uranium processing plant. This was confirmed by 2 people, the site's guard and a former military man from Buhovo. The latter wasn't very talkative but did mention reading a story by an old man who also saw a glowing saucer over Buhovo in the 1960s. Unfortunately, he didn't keep the article or remember where it was published. And the story of the night birds doesn't end there. Search Buhovo on Wikipedia and check the linked photos.